Hello and welcome to the first episode of Painting Flowers. If you joined us for the first season of Painting Landscapes, then you kind of know what we're doing already. However, if you haven't seen any of those videos, then what we do is we take the flag of a particular pride flag, or I should say the colors of a particular pride flag, and we use those colors as the color palette for our painting. So in this instance, it is yellow, magenta, and blue. And just with those three colors, we can mix them and make a whole range of other colors. Also, I will be using titanium white, and very often I use Mars black. However, in today's episode, we will not be using Mars black. And here I've just been putting the paint randomly onto the background and using my palette knife to just smear it about. It's kind of my favorite way of doing backgrounds and skies and that kind of setting, just because I like the kind of chaoticness of it. And what I first started off looking at as being sky kind of turns into water later on, and or at least in my eyes it does. I'm sure that some people might still say it's sky, but let's see what you think by the end. And if you stay to the end, you'll figure out which pride flag I was basing this off of. So, for our first series of pride paintings, which was pride landscapes, we did different landscapes. So, ocean, we did forest, we did mountains, and we did a cityscape. For this, we're basing it more off of flowers and flower ideas than we are locations and settings. But for the first episode, I decided to go with a daisy field. And it's not just daisies, there's going to be some other flowers mixed into it. I'm not really sure what kind of flowers, just ones that I thought looked really pretty. And what I'm doing here to make this daisy is I'm just almost taking the brush and kind of slashing at the cardboard I'm painting on, or canvas if you're going to be using canvas. And since the paint in the back is still wet, just very quick, very short stabbing kind of motions when you're slashing that paint on. That keeps it from blending. Yet at the same time, does give you a slight little bit of blend, which makes it look more realistic. It makes it look more like the light coming through the petals. With the other flowers, as you can see that's in white there, I just took the brush and kind of smeared it on a little bit and dabbed it just to give an organic feel. And as you can see, we're already building up. And I want to make sure there's a good range of flowers. Whilst it is a daisy field, I do want it to have, a mixture. And you want to fill up a lot of the space, but make sure it doesn't feel overly cramped. That's a really big thing. You want them all together, but you still want to have space. And this is kind of just my painting style I do. I go with the flow a lot of the time, do what I personally feel is right. It's what's in my mind at the time, what I'm feeling in that moment. And now what we want to do is we're going to mix up some white up here at the top, which originally I thought was going to be clouds. But later in the video, it looks more like kind of the white you get on top of water when it's kind of moving fast, like you might get in a stream or a river. And now I just mixed a little of my blue, the blue that I used in the background, and a little bit of my yellow, which are both colors from this particular pride flag, to make my green for the stems and for the leaves. I'm not being too delicate here, I'm just going to put in some nice big thick kind of stems. You could do it more delicate if you wanted to, but I just wanted this nice strong feel to it. Just be careful so you don't get it over your white paint, because that's just going to be defeating our purpose. And you can see here, using the same brush, I'm just kind of almost smearing the paint just to make a few leaves. Again, try not to overcrowd it. We just want to put a few in. And we're just going to fix that bit. We're just going to put in some kind of background and foreground greenery and foliage. Something that the smaller flowers can be put on top of to kind of give that feeling that there's more here than just these pretty daisies and other flowers. Just kind of dabbing it on. And you can see here, we're just putting some highlights, some of this green in the back, just to give the almost illusion of tall grass, maybe tall stems. Just a little bit. You don't need a lot. You don't want to distract and detract from these nice flowers we just put in. And now we've gone to magenta, and we're just going to take a little bit and just do these nice little magenta flowers. You want them to have a different size from the other bigger daisies, and I suppose what might kind of look like a poppy. But these little things, these are going to be like little flowers. These are the ones that the little small honeybees might be going to, and the big old bumblebees are going to the daisies. It's nice to have that mix of size and color. It just helps break apart the image some. And again, careful with your placement, so you get some that look like they're more in the foreground, some that might be a bit more in the background. And here I'm just adding these little small, even smaller flowers. They're probably from a different type of plant than the ones that's up with the daisies. And now with that white still wet on the, again, I think I might call them poppies. We're just going to take this magenta and gently just mix it in some so it blends and it gives you that illusion of petals. Kind of darker magenta on the outside and fading in as it gets towards the center. If you do it correctly, you do get this really nice illusion of petals and this almost sense of depth. Sorry for the transition there, but something happened with my lighting source and I had to change it. Now we're going to the yellow and we're going to put the centers into our flowers. I'm starting out with my daisies because I want them to be the really nice, really strong yellow. Now, of course, painting this, couldn't help but think of one particular character, and that would be Alice. Lost amongst the flowers. And whilst not all poppies have like a really bright yellowish center, I wanted to put this in anyway, just to kind of show where the flowers are facing. And I'm going to put some on these little magenta flowers too. Everybody gets a little dot of sunshine and happiness, which we all need at a minute. And just be careful. You don't want to put too big of a dot on. If you put too big of a dot on, It's just gonna not look right. Even these little tiny flowers down here are gonna get a little spot of yellow. And that's it, we're close to being done. This first video will be up on my YouTube and my Patreon, and after this video, we will be looking at making the next videos Patreon exclusive, much like I did with the first season of Pride Landscapes. And now we're just putting some little teeny tiny yellow flowers throughout the grass. So make sure you are subscribed to my Patreon to keep up with what's going on and to learn more and to follow me along and paint along with me. And if I've inspired you to paint anything throughout either this series or the previous series we did, then please tag me on social media. I'd love to see what you do. And can you see what I mean by it looks like water in the background now? So maybe it's a daisy field that's next to a babbling little creek. Now we're going to put our signature on. Today I decided to use yellow. I don't know why. It's different. And I like to put the year on as well. So, do you think you know which pride flag I used? You're about to find out. Did you get it right? I hope you did. And if you enjoyed this episode, could you please consider liking and subscribing? I would be ever so appreciative. And thank you. I hope to see you next week.